to Soulfire Wisdom with Kate Olson. As an evolving spirit and change adventure navigator, it is Kate's mission to empower and guide you on your path and inspire your truest passions. She will encourage you to share your gifts, speak your truth, and ignite your inner wisdom and purpose. She hopes to do so with a little humor and grace and her own soulfire passion. Kate talks with amazing guests who have embraced the pursuit and are fanning the flames of their own passion, purpose, and soulfire wisdom. Now here's your host, Kate.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Soulfire Wisdom and Totally Awesome. Try something new and talk about it Tuesday. So, if this is your first time listening or watching, and this is actually my first time doing a live stream this way from YouTube. And so I am, as well as being the host of Soulfire Wisdom on Soulfire Radio, I am a hypnotherapist, a life coach, a Reiki master, NLP practitioner, and various and sundry other things. I like to call myself a change adventure navigator because I love guiding people through obstacles and adversity to find their path, purpose, and peace. And along the way, maybe a little soulfire wisdom. So the episode today is called My Big Adventure Amid the Pandemic. And so what I'm going to talk about is what's been going on in my life personally for the past 6 months. And the COVID-19 pandemic, of course, made it all the more interesting and challenging. And this is actually the first episode that I've done as a solo broadcast. Usually I interview passionate and interesting guests and ask them lots of questions. So this time I'm just going to be telling you what I did for the past 6 months. And so it all started, it started really a year and a half ago when I decided I was going to sell my house and move. And I actually didn't put my house on the market a year and a half ago. It seemed like I kept running into obstacles that kept preventing me from doing that. And I kept putting it off until January of 2021. It was just down to the wire as I have to do this now. And I actually didn't know for sure where I was going to be moving to after I sold my house, but I started the process January 2021 of getting my house on the market. And by the time I was ready to do that, it was March 2021. And actually, the third week in March was when my house was actually ready to go on the market. And a shutdown in Washington State, where I lived at the time, where my house is located, actually started on March 25th, and my house was scheduled to list on March 26th. So there were a lot of complications. We didn't know if we were going to be able to actually show the house. We had it set up so we could do virtual showings. We didn't know how that would work out as far as there being, willing buyers. We didn't know if we were going to be able to get an inspection. So the night before or afternoon before the close down, we actually had an inspection. so that would be ready if we did come up with a buyer. Um, the sign company wasn't able to deliver a sign, so I kind of got a makeshift sign stuck in the ground in my front yard. And we had gloves and shoe covers and hand sanitizer already if people were able to do in-person showings. We knew there weren't going to be any open houses allowed. It turned out that the real estate association did talk the governor into allowing showings with certain restrictions. So I was on the market actually right at the beginning, and people were apprehensive. A lot of people were scared to go looking at houses, even if they were in the market. I wasn't thrilled with people walking through my house, but we did get showings. They were slow, and my house was actually, it got several offers which were too low, and it got an acceptable offer, or what I thought was an acceptable offer, 3 weeks before the end of the listing. So that was into June, with closing scheduled for the middle of July. So that was when the fun really started, when I had to get serious about the whole moving thing. And I had narrowed it down on where I was going to move to. I was considering Southern California, Arizona, and Nevada and New Mexico to start with. And through process of elimination, I settled on Arizona, but I was still pretty open on where in Arizona I was going to move to. So I had that all settled as far as, yes, I'm going to move to Arizona. But then I had to do all the, arranging for actually moving. And at that time, although Washington was getting the pandemic under control, Arizona was kind of going crazy. So it was a little scary. I decided on looking, although it wasn't the only area I was looking in, I decided on Tucson and surrounding areas, although I was considering a few other areas like Surprise and Prescott. I knew I didn't want to really live in the Phoenix or greater Phoenix area. So anyway, I started that whole process of arranging for the moving, trying to contact real estate agents, looking up what the possibilities on what I could buy were. And everything seemed to be going fairly smoothly until around closing, when I found out that an error had occurred and I was going to be getting substantially less than I expected at my closing. So it was giving me substantially about $30,000 less than I actually needed to buy something in the market down here. And that was a challenging problem, and not totally solved, but working toward that goal now. Anyway, so closing was the middle of July, and that's when things got really interesting. I had 3 days to move out of my house after closing, and this is the first time in my life I've ever moved totally by myself. And it was a lot more daunting than I had realized. I did hire a moving company for the big things, but there was still a lot that didn't go with the moving company, and that I had put in storage because there was actually some stuff that I was either selling or didn't belong to me, or um, giving away, or was going different places. As in Washington, some was my son's stuff. And so I got a storage, and the process of getting stuff to the storage was another big challenge. I ended up the night before closing. I had a little accident. I didn't even really trip. I just kind of like fell over the edge of my stair going out of the garage, lost my balance, fell over sideways, and landed on my elbow that I've injured before. So I didn't break anything, but I could barely move the next day. And I had hired some help, but I planned to do a lot of the moving myself, plus the cleanup. I planned to do all the cleaning. And so that morning, last minute, I had to hire more help for moving and someone to come and do the cleaning for me. And luckily, I was able to hire people last minute, but it cost me a pretty penny, I'll have to say. Last minute help is quite expensive. I ended up spending about $1,300 for the moving and the cleanup, and got done at about 10:30 at night. I had arranged an Airbnb, which I was getting to at about midnight, an Airbnb in Bothell, and I could not figure out how to get into the place. I thought I was in the right place, but I just couldn't figure out how to get into the place. I couldn't find the keypad. I thought it was too late to call the owner, so I ended up going to a hotel that night. Called her the next day, and once she showed me everything, it was quite, it was not that hard. But in the middle of the night, and being as tired as I wasn't able to find it. So I stayed about a week taking care of different arrangements, and then I made my first trip down to Arizona and spent, I was planning on 8 days, but it ended up being 12 days of looking. And, finding the market down here was going up a lot faster than expected. They have a shortage of inventory, and even though the COVID-19 is going on, their market was moving quite fast, and I wasn't able to be as competitive as I had hoped to be. So the challenge of finding a place down here was frustrating. Let's just say frustrating. And I was looking in a wide area, so it took a lot of time. And those obstacles kept popping up. I got locked out of my first Airbnb. Actually, I got locked out the first night. I got in the second night, and then was locked out again the third night. So I actually, she gave me my money back on that Airbnb, and I went to another one, Casita, actually down south of Tucson. And that one worked out. I stayed the rest of the time there. And then I went back up to Seattle and tried to take care of my storage up there, and ended up putting a large portion of what was left to come down to Arizona in a U-box, which I did totally myself. I hired some help to do that, but they couldn't commit to doing it at the time that I needed to do it. So I ended up doing it on my own, and it turned out that I was able to do it, but it was a lot of work. But I got everything in the U-box, and the U-box is actually, as I do this video, it's out in front waiting for me to unload. And so I'll have maybe about a third of my stuff here when I get done unloading that. And then I still have a truckload of big furniture coming. I figured out that that people buy places furnished down here for a good reason, because it's quite expensive to move stuff here. And so there's a big market for consignment and used furniture, and I kind of wish I would have figured that out in advance, because I probably could have really well furnished my place for what I spent to move things down here. But I guess you live and learn. So I've managed to stay well. I've gotten through every challenge, although some of them I was feeling pretty deflated by. And I think I found a place that I'm going to like. And the problem that I had with the sale of the house, although not totally resolved in my favor, has come to a resolution that I can live with. So I guess my big adventure is moving totally on my own from the state of Washington to the state of Arizona. And getting here in one place healthy, and I think I'm basically happy with this move. I think it's going to turn out to be a good experience and adventure for me. I already have a lot of exploring and adventures lined up, and I'm excited. So I'm glad I had the chance to tell you about this. I hope that I didn't bore you too much with this long narrative, and that you'll tune in next week for my first live stream with a guest. And my first guest is going to be Anna Margolina. And Dr. Anna Margolina is, like me, she's a hypnotherapist and a coach. And her business is called Ageless with Anna, and also outdoor hypnotherapy. And this outdoor hypnotherapy that she is doing was brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic. So we're going to talk about that. And Anna is always an interesting guest and person to talk to. She's a friend and colleague. And so tune in next week. That will be the 15th, September 15th at 3 p.m. And we'll see you in person. Looking forward to it. Just going to say bye for now.
Thank you for listening to Soul Fire Wisdom with Kate Olson. We hope you enjoyed the show. If we made you laugh, brightened your day, or sparked a new thought, we have succeeded in our mission. Join us next time when we'll share more secrets and truths and all the magic and transformation that is the journey to Soul Fire Wisdom. Always remember, be fearless in the pursuit of what sets your soul on fire.